Next on Worcester News tonight, sexual harassment claims skyrocketing in the workplace. An expert weighing in on the beginning of what she calls a new era. Plus, it's President's Day, many celebrating the long weekend with some retail therapy, cashing in on holiday deals. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Those stories in a moment, but we begin in Blackstone tonight, where first responders jumped quickly into action this weekend after a dog fell through thin ice. There's a happy ending to this story, but paramedics say it could have had a different outcome.
You climb into it, zip up, you're completely watertight.
Paramedic Sam Blake has been through multiple ice safety trainings with the Blackstone Fire Department. But this is the moment when those trainings were put to the test.
Put on the ice rescue suit, went out with a tether on my back, my lieutenant feeding me rope.
According to the Blackstone Fire Department, Rosie's owner called saying her dog was stuck on thinning ice and had fallen into the cold water at least one time before rescuers got there. Blake says they don't know exactly how long Rosie was in the water at Harris Pond, but he guesses at least an hour. He says getting to her was a challenge, battling the cold, icy water, as well as 5 to 6 inches of mud at the bottom of the pond. Once he reached the black Labrador retriever, she responded how he'd hoped she would.
Waited for her to kind of come near me and I could reach out and pet her a little bit, and she's realized, okay, all right, this guy's all right, and just grabbed her, scooped her up, and pretty much laid out on my back, and held her on my chest, and Lieutenant Savigny hauled me in.
Blake says this rescue brings up an important lesson about going onto the ice, especially with warmer temperatures in the forecast.
The ice is not safe. That dog was probably only maybe 50, 60 pounds. And I can't imagine any kid being that size out there on the ice by themselves without their parents. So I'd be more concerned with teenage kids thinking these days that, oh, let's go out on the ice, we'll have some fun. Not a good idea. Definitely not.
Blake says if you see someone fall through the ice, call 911 immediately. He says it's not safe to attempt an ice rescue if you're not trained. As for Rosie, Blake says after the rescue, she shook off and ran straight home. Moving on now, Uxbridge police make arrests after finding $10,000 worth of products taken from a business in town. According to police, the suspects broke into Wolfpack Vapor on Mendon Street and stole a large amount of inventory. Police recovered the items and arrested 19-year-old Joseph Taylor of Whitensville and 20-year-old Lydia Schlegel of North Brookfield. Both are charged with breaking and entering, larceny, and destruction of property. They're expected to be arraigned in Uxbridge District Court Tuesday. The Me Too movement appears to be having a major impact across the state. In February alone, more than 25 sexual harassment complaints were filed to the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination. Our Rosalind Flaherty has the story.
Reported cases of sexual harassment in Massachusetts are on the rise. According to the Boston Herald, complaints are up 400% so far this month compared to 2017.
It's exactly what we expect to happen at times like this.
Selena Gallo-Cruz is an assistant professor of sociology at the College of the Holy Cross. She says the increase can be traced to the Me Too movement and credits the women's march in 2017 as well as the allegations against movie producer Harvey Weinstein.
All of these are being made in Hollywood, and we give a lot of status and legitimacy to actresses and so forth. So that's been favorable to the movement.
Gallo-Cruz says Me Too was created in 2006. She says the recent events make the movement more powerful.
The woman who coined the phrase had encountered a young girl who shared her story of rape, I believe, and she wanted to give some solidarity to her, and she said, me too.
According to the Herald, in the first 16 days of February, the Massachusetts Commission Against Discrimination received 25 sexual harassment complaints. Gallo-Cruz says she sees the numbers increasing even more.
It's become a part of dinner table conversations, and I don't think it's going away. I hope it's not going away, but I believe that women in the country will rethink the ways we talk with our daughters and with our sons.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Several places across central Massachusetts are celebrating President's Day today, honoring our nation's leaders. And as our Chandler Walsh explains, one location spot can truly say George Washington stopped here.
Make us read the way Songs for George Washington on President's Day. The holiday began as the celebration of his birthday. Old Sturbridge Village historian Tom Kelleher says the day was one of young America's first traditions.
France has Joan of Arc and St. Louis and other figures, Charlemagne, England has King Arthur and Queen Elizabeth, and America didn't have that, and so they found it in Washington.
As the village toasts to Washington,
to the President of the United States.
A few miles away in West Brookfield, Ye Olde Tavern prepares his birthday dinner. Owner Cindy Larson says it's the last standing tavern where Washington ate during his presidency.
So we decided to get together and put together an authentic, what would a George Washington have had to eat had he been eating here, birthday celebration.
The tavern was one of Washington's stops during his tour through Central Mass in 1789. At Old Sturbridge Village, Kelleher says Washington was America's first hero.
He established, of course, as our first president, a lot of important precedents of how the office should be carried out, how the president, what his powers are.
The tavern is using their connection to the nation's first president to remind people of Washington's legacy and his visit.
We were very, very fortunate that on his stagecoach ride by, we were able to serve him a meal, and it's nice to be able to share that same sort of meal with new people.
Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
While some recognize President's Day for its history, some businesses are using it as their biggest event of the year. Car dealers and stores here in central Massachusetts held massive sales in what has become an annual tradition for retailers. Our Cam Jandro joins us now live with the details. Cam?
Yeah, Anna, for some reason, Americans just love to shop on President's Day. And here in central Massachusetts, there were numerous stores taking advantage of today's holiday.
Berterra Nissan of Auburn had a busy Monday, thanks to President's Day. The holiday has become one of the biggest days of the year for retailers.
Oh, it should really start to get heated up. So now this really sets the tone for the rest of the year. So we expect to have a huge weekend. We have had a huge weekend. Today is just the icing on the cake. It's been amazing.
The tradition of sales began in the 80s when the country started celebrating President's Day on the third Monday of February, making it a 3-day weekend. For General Sales Manager Mike Demers, it's his Super Bowl.
This is the absolute biggest. This is the best day of the year to buy a car for sure. It's only once a year. The deals like this don't come around very often. Everybody gets super excited, and for good reason.
In Worcester, Hart Toyota had signs flashing, lowest prices of the year. President Michael Gross says the dealership has been busy thanks to sales as well as the weather.
The inventory is good because of the winter, and I think people are just tired of being cooped up in their house in the winter, and they love to get out and buy a car.
But car dealers weren't the only ones holding sales Monday. Rotman's had their annual President's Sale, marking down hundreds of pieces of furniture. Vice President Bernie Rotman says it's all hands on deck for their biggest sale of the year.
It's quite an effort, and once again, we know that people are expecting this, so we don't want to disappoint, so we make sure that the values are even beyond expectation.
Rotman says the store prepares for their President's Sale months in advance in order to separate it from other events.
We offer extended credit, all the sort of things that we do during the year. As individual promotions, we bundle together, and on Washington's birthday, they all come out.
Now, with it being their biggest sale of the year, Rotman says he expects thousands of people to go in and out of the store over the next week or so, hopefully taking a few pieces of furniture with them. And Anna, I'm in desperate need of a couch. I might have to stop by.
Better head out there before they close. Thanks, Kim. And if you did purchase that new car, some good news for drivers this week. Gas prices are down 6 cents in Massachusetts. According to AAA Northeast, self-serve regular unleaded is averaging $2.50 per gallon, which is 3 cents below the national average. Meanwhile, the average price of gas in Massachusetts was 32 cents lower at this time last year. At that time, gas was averaging $2.18 per gallon.